Right, welcome back, and let's draw this pretty cool looking antique book. I know it's not real antique, it's just kind of like a reproduction to make it look like it's antique, but right, so let's begin. Let's see. So you have to start out with the perspective of this book first. So I'm just gonna draw, okay, let's just draw it about this size. All right, let's try that. So that'll be the cover. So if you're not familiar with perspective, I do have a pretty decent video on just basic perspective. So basically these two lines are traveling to a point really far away. And then these two lines will be traveling to another point really far away on the horizon. And this will be a 2-point perspective. And then everything else is vertical down here. Okay, so very basic. But yeah, something that's I know it's very basic, but it's actually very useful in everything else that you can draw. All right, so let's draw in the box first. So these would be vertical. So I'm not too concerned about looking exactly like the book. It's we just want to shade it to make it look like a cool, really ancient book with a lot of weathering. Okay, so this will be the box, and then we got drawing the lip right now. So let's make it about this thick. Might be a little bit thicker than the reference. Okay, so now I'm drawing the lip. It's gonna come down, bottom here, a little bit less. Okay. And once we have that, now we have to draw the inside of this text. And it's obviously not, the pages are not as big or wide as the cover. So it's gonna come here, and then it's gonna go up, let's say right around there. Okay, so this is the cover, this is the page of the book, and then this is the back. So this is the back cover right here. Okay, it's gonna extend through that. We won't see it, but you kind of have to visualize it. Okay, so text here. Okay, and then in the middle of this, let's see, if you want to be a little bit more accurate, if you want to find the middle, you can draw two lines like this, corner to corner, and then this will be a midpoint here. Okay, so yeah, if your perspective, I mean, even mine is a little bit off. If this is off, and then when you find the middle, it's gonna be off. But I guess it's better than eyeballing sometimes. So this will be the middle. So let's just say we'll make it about this wide. Okay, so let's see the little strap there. I'm sure there's a name for this, but I don't know what it's called. I'm just gonna call it a strap. Okay, so notice I pushed it up a little bit more from these two lines because there's gonna be thickness, right? So it starts here. So when I draw it, it's not, right from the center. Okay. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time sketching this thing out. Let's go ahead and shade this. Some pretty cool detail right there. All right, so this is kind of interesting. Let's see, this is gonna be pretty dark. So let's start out with the, let's get it moving for a little bit. I'm looking at the darkest spot right here. I'm just gonna shade that in real quick. I just want to hit some dark spots. And I am using a 10B, so it's gonna be nice and soft. So that part is probably the darkest right here, and I'm gonna try to save that highlight as well. So I'm just pushing in, trying to get the value correct. Okay, let's go ahead and draw in. All right, let's do the bottom. No, you know what? Let's do the top. I'm sorry. Let's not do the bottom, or else my hand's gonna get over it. All right, so here's the darkest part, I think. And then all along the edge here, I'm just gonna give this one shade first. And this will be quite a large area. if I can draw this and actually make it look like it's kind of, you know, do you have that feel of the texture, this leather texture? I think that would be pretty cool. I think that's what's drawn me to this. That's something I want to draw, is because of the texturing. All right, so let's give this one shade. It's probably not dark enough. Let's do it again. And again, we don't have to follow exactly, you know, we don't have to go all crazy and make this all dark. Okay, and then we're all on the edge right here. It's gonna be pretty black. There's a lot of reflective surface. So I know I'm doing in patches. Hopefully, when everything done at the end, everything will come together. All along here. Wow, my 10B is really flattening out quick. So you push into it, that thing just kind of disappears. Shadow underneath here. Let's continue this. Probably make it a little darker as well. Well, we could keep going. If I keep going like this, I'm going to have to sharpen up my pencil again. All right, so let's add in some detail right here. This is the pretty cool part here. Let's see, here's the middle. There's a little bit of ridge here. Here. Here, looks like it's torn. So I know it looks really messy, right? I'm just kind of trying to draw whatever it is that I see, and that's all these little details. And the strokes can be very short, you know, whatever, just very loose. And I just kind of push it in, and then you can fade it out. So you push it in, and then you can fade things out, you know, just to even things out, so it's not so harsh sometimes. Okay, so it's coming along, right? You kind of feel like something is there. Well, let's draw this top part as well. There's a line here. And really this is just adding detail. Hopefully things will come out. Just try to ignore what is it, you know, ignore the things that you see and just try to draw, you know, shading the actual value. I know there's a little button in here. Yeah, it seems kind of fun sometimes. So this texture obviously needs to be darker. I'm also a little hesitant on going too dark, because then it's just a lot more work. And if you're drawing this, you know, if you just make it a little bit lighter, that's okay too, right? It'll just be a lighter cover book. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a pretty strong highlight running along the edge right there. I might have to bring that back out with my electric eraser. Okay, so let's keep going down here. I'm just gonna add in this shape, this little metal shape. All on the edge right here is dark. Dark edge here for this little metal piece. Yeah, the texturing might be kind of fun later. I can add in, I can sharpen up my pencil and really adding the little details, you know, here and there. So here's a little rip here, which is kind of cool. So for the rip, you just have to identify, you know, what is, I know that little piece is kind of orange. That's when I guess the top leather is worn away. So you just try to identify the value of it and shade that in. Yeah, this is pretty messy right here. So sometimes for these little tight spots, you can actually come in and just kind of start rotating your pencil. You'll just kind of rub into it so that it's not so well defined. I mean, I do that sometimes. I don't know if you guys want to try something like that. So you just kind of rotate around just to give it a little bit more randomness to it, you know. See, I'm rotating here just to get the sharper edge. Okay. All right, so I think, yeah, this definitely needs to go darker. Let's draw in the bottom here, and then we'll draw in the page, because the page is kind of interesting. The pages are pretty... All right, let's try right now. I think that'll be kind of cool. So let's see. We're just drawing some lines like this, darker ones. Let's see. I'll give it a general shade first so it's not so white. Let's try that, and then I'm just gonna run it along. Obviously, we're not gonna draw every page, but just add in some lines like this, lightly, and then let's see, this part is a little bit darker here, right? Soften up the binding right here, and then on the corner here we see more of it. And it's turning, so we gotta follow the line here. Just go make these little turns. I'm actually kind of interested to see how well I can draw this, because this is not something I do every day. Yeah, hard surface stuff is not as exciting, right? I mean, I always like to draw organic and human figure. That's a lot more interesting to me. So this part right here is in shadow, so it's really dark. Okay, let's add in some more lines. My pencil is really dull. I should sharpen it now. Well, let's keep going. Okay, here. Now these pages right here is a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna flick it. And like this part here is darker and lighter, and especially in the shadow area, that really helps, right? Once we shade in this area, now you start feeling the overall shape of the book, because, you know, without the shadow, sometimes it's really hard to see the shapes. Okay, and then the bottom part here, now let's draw in the bottom. This is gonna be pretty dark, so which is nice, because it's gonna really pop out the pages. This is completely dark, I think it's in the shadow. Here. So really dark, I'm really pushing in. It's actually tiring on your hand. Yeah, that's how hard you gotta push into these things sometimes. Okay, here's the bottom. Let's try. I'm just gonna draw a light line, because I don't want to draw too hard of a line. You know, you want to define the shapes with your shading, because if you have a really hard line there, then it's gonna look a little bit more illustrative than, I guess, realistic. Okay, so let's see this part here. This part is gonna be dark as well, but not as dark. Okay, so it looks like, well, actually it's pretty dark. There's definitely a lip here that we can see. This part's a little bit darker. And then the bottom here is a little bit darker. Less of a highlight. Yeah, it gets a little tricky sometimes, but you gotta find the distinction, between these little two areas right here. So I think this side is darker. Okay, and then right here is a little bit darker. Let's fade that out. Okay, so this part is cool. I'm liking how this is coming out. I think the dark areas really help just bring this whole book out. So we got let's put in more of that up here. And I might have to darken up the whole book later. Because the cover looks a little light. Yeah, let's do one more. So if you want to shade in like this, you see I'll shade in half of it first, and I'll connect the other half. So it takes a little bit of a hand control so that you know how to, where you stop there. If you don't fade out your edges right here, you'll get an overlap, and you see like a darker line there. But that's just all comes with practice. Or if you want, then just go all the way down, but when you draw like long lines like this, sometimes it feels like it's a little too stiff. Like I can't get the correct shading. That's why I like the shorter lines. It's a little bit easier, but then you gotta connect them. But yeah, it's if you do that and there's a line in between, I mean, it's okay. You can always go in there and just fade it out, whatever. Okay, so there's like, this is not a smooth surface, right? So I'm just gonna go in there. It's almost at random. Make some of it darker. That's gonna give it some nice bumpy texture. This part's still the cover, so it should be a little bit darker. Okay, so let's see how that looks. I'm looking at it from afar or further back, and yeah, it feels okay. I know there's gonna be a lot of little things. So at this point, I think we got the overall feel of this, right? Now we just have to add in the details. So let me see, let me sharpen up my pencil, and then I'll come back and let's see if we can add in a little bit more, up the level a little bit more. All right, so I got my pencil nice and sharp now, and let's try to add in some little detail here. It's like a little bit of detail, sharp corners especially, really adds in a lot. Makes it feel like it's a lot more detailed than it is. It almost looks like little cuts and rips. Let's see, how about here? Especially let's see on the pages here. I think there's a lot of lines here. If I can add in some lines, maybe that'll help bring this up to another level. So I'm turning my edge a little bit as I'm drawing, so I can kind of maintain that sharper line. Okay, yeah, so that definitely brings it out, right? Let's make it a little bit sharper on the bottom here so we can better define the pages. Okay. It's a highlight there. I'm gonna bring out, got my electric eraser. Let's try to bring out this area right here. See how that looks. Notice that this is kind of an exaggeration because the highlight's really not that hot. But again, we have to exaggerate things too. To make it look a little bit more interesting. So that kind of helps. Okay. All right, so yeah, now I made a mess. I still don't have my brush with me. Okay, so yeah, this area really helps right now. It feels like there's just more depth to it. Now you have a wider range. Okay, so I think that really works. Okay, so I think this is pretty much done unless, you know, we can just go in and keep adding details. And actually make this whole thing darker. That might be kind of nice. All right, let's do that. Let's push it up another notch. Okay, and if you want to bring back any of the highlights or lighter areas, like I think here is probably a little bit lighter, I can just dab it. I need an eraser. Okay, so even here, this part's a little bit kind of too much lines going on. This looks a little bit fake. Make that a little bit darker as well. Okay, so I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, this is actually kind of fun. I haven't done this for a long time. You know, step away and maybe I'll come back if I see something and, you know, maybe I'll add in a little bit more detail. But overall, I think this is kind of fun. Yeah, I really enjoy this. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys and you actually enjoy drawing this little old book. All right, thanks for watching and I will see you next time.